Coming to Baba's knowledge, we often hear about three words very often: yoga, tapasya, and sadhana. Of course, the word yoga can be understood and practiced in different ways. But if I want to create a fiery form in my yoga practice, then I need to understand and practice yoga not just as connection, link, or communion, but I need to go a little bit more deeper to practice in the form of relationship, which becomes remembrance instead of just having a kind of static experience, connection, union. But when it becomes relationship, it is used in the form of remembrance. And when that remembrance of Baba becomes easy, then anything that which is easy is constant. And anything that which is constant is natural. So the first important aspect before we even think of creating that final stage, the fiery form, I need to make my relationship with Baba natural so that I don't have to labor. Up until now, we are still laboring because we are playing the game of forgetting and remembering. And that is why we have to say, okay, let us remember Baba. So what was I doing before that? So I was remembering somebody else and something else. But when that remembrance becomes natural, then the feeling comes that not only I am remembering Baba constantly, but the remembrance becomes troublesome. You know? Anyone of you have experienced Baba's remembrance? Oh, so troublesome, I can't forget Baba. Can you tell me some method to forget Baba? Of course, we all have had experience of that kind of remembrance, maybe every now and then. But that should be my stage, where the remembrance is not just coming, it's not just natural, but it also becomes, in Hindi we call it as satane wali yaad, a kind of remembrance where you cannot separate. Like sometimes Baba says, some children even disturb Baba's sleep. They remember Baba so much that Baba has to give response to their remembrance. So they disturb Baba's sleep. What it means is Shiv Baba has to wake up Brahma Baba and give them response no matter what time it is. What time of the day, what time of the night. So first I have to work on my remembrance in the form of relationship. It should be so natural, so deep, that I have all relationships, all attainments from one Baba. So then I reach a stage of tapasya. Now the word tapasya comes from the Sanskrit word tap. Tap means heat. So tapasya is a heating process. So it is not you love Baba, but you are in love. There is difference between just loving Baba and being in love. That means my love for Baba is exclusive. There is no one else included. It's not just intellectual thinking, one Baba and none other, but I am lost. I am lost in Baba's love. So I create that fire of love in my heart. In Laukik world, when they have love between lover and beloved, they do experience that kind of fire of love in their heart. So that is why, they feel like the person whom they love is constantly in front of them, no matter what they are doing. So my yoga should take the form of fire. So that is why when we translate the word tapasya, we say intense meditation. Intense meditation, tapasya. So that means continuous, uninterrupted. That is tapasya. So that is why it is important, first of all, to make my yoga natural, easy, so that it becomes continuous, not interrupted in between. In olden days, they say that rishis and munis, when they used to do tapasya in the cave, they never used to let people know that they are sitting there. But the vibrations of their tapasya, the heat, the vibrations of purity used to reach far and wide. And people used to trace that there is some yogi sitting somewhere here, and they will walk according to the vibrations of that tapasya and provide food and water, whatever for them. Because they never asked anyone to provide anything, but the vibrations of tapasya was so strong, the purity that was emitted, the rays of light, the rays of purity, that is cooperated sages and saints, but they were able to attract people towards that place of tapasya. So this is what Baba said this morning, that you need to become great tapasvi souls, not even just tapasvi. Because there are many tapasvi souls, hatha yogis, who sit in the cave and who go into the forest and with force and determination, they will attain something. Like Dadi Manohar was sharing this morning, like they make up their mind to stand on 1 feet for that many hours, and they just do it. So there are many tapasvis who do such kind of sadhana. But what Baba wants us is to become great tapasvi. That means tapasya based on understanding. So according to Baba's knowledge, what is tapasya? It is not sitting in Baba's room for 8 hours or 24 hours. Sometimes Brahmin misunderstand. When we say yoga bhatti, it is a form of tapasya because you put yourself in the furnace. So that does not mean that you have to be sitting in one place. Of course, to some extent, to discipline ourselves for some time, it is okay. But to be in that stage of tapasya, to become an image of tapasya, does not mean that you are sitting in one place. Like we hear this experience of dadis, that they had tapasya for 14 years. So does that mean that they never did any work and they never ate food or slept or did anything? They did everything. Baba gave them all kinds of training during that time. But they did tapasya with understanding. So one of the definition of tapasya, before we create a fiery form of yoga, is having concentration and determination of our mind and intellect. See, this is why during all the Murlis of this season, Baba has been emphasizing a lot on this exercise, power of concentration. Because without concentration, we cannot experience the fruit of tapasya. Like in science also, they show that when the rays of the sun is concentrated on the convex lens, a paper that is kept below that lens get burned. I have done that experiment myself in my college days, and I have seen it. What is power of concentration? What it can do? So tapasya means concentration and determination. Of course, determination is not to be stubborn, because sometimes people misunderstand determination to be stubborn. The second definition of tapasya is actually to have one stable stage. Maintaining consistency in one stable stage under all situations of upheaval. It's not that because you are doing tapasya, you will get all the situations in favor for yourself. No. But even though the situations are chaotic, in upheaval, you maintain one stable stage. That is why in Hatha Yoga they have copied what we have done, one stable stage as standing on one foot, fasting without something, but that is with force, but we do it with determination. And another aspect of tapasya is actually, it is connected with concentration, of course, but together with that, it is one and only one, no other. That means connection with one and only one. That is why in Hindi, Baba calls it as ek nami, economy, ek ras, ekagrata. That is what is tapasya. So I should be able to do this kind of tapasya at all times, not only while sitting in one place, but my life, Brahmin life, should become a life of tapasya, where I am able to maintain that stability, I am able to remain lost in the love of one, no attraction, no pull, no influence. I am able to maintain total concentration and determination in all the tasks that I perform. Not just in meditation, but in everything that I do. So when I am able to maintain consistency, that is why it is called intense meditation. When there is consistency in these practices, then I create that fire. Even volcano, some volcanoes are dead. Some volcanoes are active. So that means that heat, the lava that it throws off, that the temperature of the lava is so powerful that it can, destroy things even from a far distances. So what it means that heat was created inside over a period of time. It is not that I just sit in meditation and I say, oh, I want to create a fiery form, and I cannot do that. Because it is a practice that I need to do over a period of time, the heating process, consistency in my relationship with Baba, in maintaining that stable stage, in maintaining that one, all relationships with one. So when these things are maintained consistently over a period of time, you have already started to ignite the fire. And so what Baba said this morning was, when all of us have ignited this fire in ourselves, and together in the form of a gathering, when we have one thought, so this fiery form will help to transform the world in no time. If one volcano, when it becomes active, it can destroy so much. So if we can practice this kind of yoga, even for 1 hour, how much rays of light and might and peace and love we can spread out into the world. So one is I practice individually, and then we come together collectively. So in order to create the fiery form, I also need the third aspect, sadhana. Sadhana is translated in English as spiritual endeavor. Like sometimes all the situations are not in favor for us. All the facilities are not available. So sadhana means to be able to maintain that tapasya stage without taking the support of any physical facilities. Because as we continue to become more and more yogi souls, that means the more and more renunciation we have, the more the matter, the objects made out of matter, facilities will come to surrender itself. So sadhana means not to use those facilities more than I need. Because when I take advantage of the facilities that is coming to me as a result of my yoga, and if I become happy and I get used to that, addicted to that, I cannot create a fiery form. Because then my yoga becomes dependent on that. That's why I was giving the example of the tapasvis in the Copper Age. They never ever asked anyone to provide anything for them. But they had so much of renunciation, and on the basis of that, they were just lost in their aim. They were Brahmagyanis and Tattvagyanis. They had connection with the element of light. But even then, they were so determined that nothing of the facilities attracted them. Even the animals who were harmful around them, they were able to tame them on the basis of their vibrations of purity. You can imagine. And they did not even have yoga with God, the source of strength. And so when we have direct connection with Baba, the source of wisdom, the source of peace, the source of everything, so we should be able to feel ourselves so full that the feeling of wanting something should not arise. Not just when you are sitting in yoga, of course not at that time anyway, but in my whole Brahmin life, that should be my dharana. No, this is what Baba said this morning. If you have any limited desire to get a little name, to get a little fame, to get something, so you lose out in your tapasya. The power of tapasya is gone. See, for rishis and munis, they say they used to do tapasya for so many years, and God wanted to test them. So they used to close their eyes, and He used to come in front of them to see whether they have conquered the vices with an attractive woman, attractive fairy. So their tapasya was broken. They got attracted with eyes closed also. So, means they had not conquered the vices naturally, they had suppressed. And so all their tapasya was finished because they got attracted towards those images that was brought to them to test their tapasya. So, when we move into the practice of sadhana, the sadhan, the facilities are attraction for us. And it will really come to attract us, to make us subservient to them. If not physical facilities, subtle facilities, like a little bit of position, little bit of name, fame, praise, appreciation. No, that is why Baba said in one of the Murli, that because you are weak in the subject of yoga, when you do service, it is due to lack of unlimited disinterest. There are obstacles because the consciousness of I and mine come in there. So sadhan, the physical facilities, the subtle facilities will come to extinguish that fire. It is a test of a yogi, whether we have really conquered the matter. So to create the fiery form of yoga, the first and the foremost important dharana that we need to have is an attitude of unlimited disinterest. Without having an attitude of unlimited disinterest, we cannot be successful in our sadhana. Everything is there, but no attraction, no inclination. If I don't have anything and I say, oh, I have unlimited disinterest, that is not anything great. I got everything, but still I don't have any pull or any attraction. So the first dharana that is very important to create this powerful stage, the fiery form, which means it's like a ball of fire. The consciousness of the body is totally dissolved. Me and Baba merged in love. Laukik people say lean, we say love lean. That is the fiery form. Lost in love. The consciousness of the body totally dissolved. No, that is why they say in Laukik life, ignorance is bliss. Have you heard that saying? So what actually is the meaning of this expression? Ignorance is bliss means when I become ignorant of my body, I become ignorant of the word desire. That is where is the bliss. So the fiery form of yoga is a blissful stage. Atindriya sukh, where you are totally beyond the sense of touch, the sense of sound, the sense of taste, the sense of smell, because it is easy to go beyond sense organs. But when I go beyond the senses, that is when I know my consciousness of the body is totally dissolved. See, that is why for Pandavas they say that Pandavas, after they won the war, they went on to the top of the Himalayas and got melted. So that is the experience of us now, to melt the body consciousness to such an extent that I merge with the one. That merge in love, love lean. So that is when you feel yourself as a ball of fire, being on the unlimited. So you can visualize the physical sun. Baba said this morning, just like the physical sun gives light, but together with light, it gives many other attainments. So when I'm in that stage of totally bliss, totally merged in love, when the consciousness of the body is totally dissolved, that is when I'm on the unlimited, sending out that rays of light and might. It's like Sakash to the whole world, like a spiritual sun. No, that is what is necessary now, Baba said. Because the souls in the world today are beggars. Not beggars for any physical things, but beggars of peace, beggars of happiness, beggars of power. So when we are in that stage and hold on to that stage as long as we want, together in the form of a gathering, it can do wonders. It will do wonders. That is when, we become the image of vision. That is when Baba can give the vision of our angelic form, our perfection, our form of completion to others. So it is like God-like stage. In other words, we can say, when we are in the soul world, there is no difference between the soul and the supreme soul. Because it has become master like God. It's only when I come down, I play my part, I enter into the body, so the difference comes. So it is the climax, that closeness when you touch the light of God and hold it. And through God, it's like a satellite sending out that power out into the world. You can understand? Satellite. Baba is the satellite. So fiery form of yoga is when you plug into the satellite and stay there. And through Baba, that power, the rays of light and might will spread out. But for that, I need to practice in my life, in my normal life, determination, concentration, so I can hold on to that stage as long as I want to. Because we cannot hold on to that stage. The reason is that we have not created that stage on the basis of our own spiritual endeavor. We have created that stage because we are in an atmosphere. We have created the stage because we are in the company of certain souls. But I need to create that an attitude of unlimited disinterest from the heart, that nothing and no one can pull me. So purity play a very, very important part in creating this fiery form. Anything that is lacking in purity will not allow me to plug in to the satellite, to ignite that fire. It's like two lights. When the two clouds come together, you have lightning, right? So when these two souls come together, what will happen? You can imagine. I, the soul, I am full, complete and perfect, and God, I touch the light of God. What will be that lightning? That is what we call fiery form, Jwalamukhi. In Hindi, it is called Jwalamukhi. So it is so powerful that not only it spreads out, but it actually transforms me completely. It's spiritual radiation, you can call it. Now, fiery form of yoga is a form of spiritual radiation that actually kills every vices, every trace of vices within me too. So, but today what is happening is we have yoga and then we have viyoga. That means we have yoga for some time and then we have complaining yoga. Talking to Baba, Baba, if this person change, then I will change. Baba, I do this. If this happens, then everything will be all right. So that is called viyoga. Yoga with complaint, separation. So we should now become prayogi instead of viyogi. No, prayogi means the one who experiments with the attainments of yoga. So one of the experience you can imagine, how you will feel when you are in that stage. Don't feel any physical feeling. Don't say, oh, my body got very hot and my forehead started burning, so I was in the fiery form of yoga. No, because some brothers and sisters share their experience, I felt all my sins were burned because my forehead was so hot. I got my body very stiff, very hot. So these things won't happen. Actually, it is more internal experience. So where you feel totally you are on the unlimited. Your feet of the intellect is totally lifted beyond. There is total ignorance of the body. Just like in the Copper Age, we became ignorant of the knowledge of the soul. So in that stage, the body consciousness is totally dissolved. Only the point is left. So point and point. So when 2 points touch, that is the fire. And you can imagine God's power. That is why Arjuna said when he had the vision, oh, I cannot bear this heat, please stop. So what it means is the intensity of that heat, that power can destroy so much of impurity in the world. It can cleanse the 5 elements of matter. It can reach out to every corner of the world. It doesn't take time. So we need to have a hobby of first of all making our yoga natural, easy, constant. When your yoga is constant, it can become instant. If it is not constant, it cannot be instant. And if it is not instant, it cannot be intense. Then only we have to spend a lot of time making connection and disconnected. So I need to look out for that leakages. What are those leakages that actually doesn't allow me to plug in? So we had this topic, a few years ago in New York, how to create this fiery foam. So we came up with 7 important dharana, which helps us to build up this stage over a period of time. So we can use this 7 points, in the next 7 days before Baba comes, together as a gathering, and individually we create that fiery foam so that we also feel totally purified, cleansed, and we have helped in cleansing the atmosphere, elements of matter, and we have served the world through our mind. So the first important dharana, as I was mentioning earlier, is an attitude of unlimited disinterest. So I will call it as unlimited interest. You can say, when you develop unlimited interest, you will automatically have unlimited disinterest. Because sometimes Brahmins interpret unlimited disinterest has having no interest. No, it is not the way. What it means is to realize what is not necessary that I have stored within myself, acquired sanskaras and nature, and considering that as something not useful, throw it away. Because renunciation is not possible without having disinterest. Now, we often ask this question to Brahmins sometimes. What comes first, renunciation or disinterest? What would you say? Disinterest first, because some of us renounce certain things, but we go back to that. Why? Because we did not renounce it on the basis of our own disinterest. Like, for example, you sweep your house, you collect the rubbish, and then you throw it in the dustbin. You will not go and get back that rubbish again into your house because you have decided that is rubbish. Same thing, I need to realize this is the rubbish inside me and I don't want it. I had enough of it. So I want to throw it away. Whether it is lust or anger or greed or attachment or whatever, then I will not look back towards it. But if I have looked back towards it, that means it's a renunciation by force, renunciation based on some kind of influence of the company, but not from the heart. So to create that fiery form, I need to have that attitude of unlimited disinterest from the heart. And I can use my experience to create it. I can use the experience of others to create that kind of disinterest so that I don't get subservient to any of those again. The second thing that is important, as I was mentioning, is to become ignorant of the word desire. See, these desires are such an obstacle in yoga that it doesn't allow us to have power of concentration. If you check yourself, why we lack the power of concentration, one or the other unfulfilled desire pulls me towards itself. It could be relationship, it could be physical facilities, attraction, anything. But in positive words, if you want to say contentment, what it means to become ignorant of the word desire. Totally content. I have everything. It is not that I don't have, but I have everything. I don't need anything. No, there is a difference between need and want. So if I want, that is desire. But of course, need is always provided. That's why we always say when you want something and you don't get it, you must understand you don't need it. But sometimes we don't understand, we waste a lot of our mental energy looking for it. So the second dharana that is very important is to feel total contentment, fulfillment. There is nothing lacking in the treasure store of Brahmins. Of course, there is nothing lacking in the treasure store of deities, but more than that, in Brahmin life, Baba has given everything. And the third important inculcation is complete purity. Not just celibacy, not just being viceless. See, there is a difference between being viceless and completely pure. No, that is why we use these two words, sato pradhan. The souls in the golden age are sato pradhan. So if I want to really create that stage of yoga, I need to have sato pradhan stage. That means no name and trace of impurity. even the progeny of impurity should not be there. And the third aspect in that particular, Dadi was talking a lot the other day, is to become an embodiment of truth. Truth. To make my heart, this is what Dadi said, a home of truth. Because if I really want to create that fiery form to merge in the light of God, merge in the love of light of God, God is truth. So the more truth I have within myself, the easier it is for me to remain connected. I remember many years ago, Dadi Gulsar also was giving this class. And she said, we talk about Bindu stage, we talk about seed stage, Videhi stage, incorporeal stage, that is very close to the fiery form. Because if I am able to maintain that Bindu stage, the seed stage for a longer period of time, that leads me into the fiery form. But I cannot begin my meditation with the seed stage. Because seed stage is that stage where I am totally full of all powers, full of all virtues, I'm full. Only when I'm full, I can experience myself to be beyond. So I have to make sure before I experience that, I have all relationships with Baba, all attainments from Baba. So my intellect in any way does not get pulled towards anyone or anything. So I have to be very honest with myself. Because if I am honest with myself, I am able to be truthful with Baba. And I am able to be truthful with others in my relationship. So if there is anything lacking in that honesty and truth, I cannot create that fiery form, because it's a very elevated stage. It's the highest stage of yoga. And so anything that which is not true will bring me down. So this is why it is important for me to keep that attention, to check myself. Anything lacking in that purity is, of course, honesty, but truthfulness is chosen as a separate dharana. Why? Because it is the truth that will give me the experience of bliss. See, that is why the soul is described as Sat, Chit, Anand. So when I am truth, I can experience bliss. So that means it's easy for me to move into that higher planes of yoga without my intellect getting pulled down below. See, we always need to look out. After we have had, say, 1 hour yoga, half an hour yoga, if my mind and intellect were not totally concentrated, focused, where did it go? Why it went? What is it that I have not attained from Baba? So I need to reflect on those things. Jagdish Bhai used to give a lot of class on tapasya, and in one of the classes, I always remember, he was mentioning that you cannot go into the deeper stages of yoga until you have deep reflection. Deep reflection, where my intellect goes, why it goes, what method I need to use to bring it back, I need to reflect and set it right. It's only then I will have realization. Without deep reflection, there cannot be realization. And without realization, there cannot be transformation. So transformation of the self is possible when we experience the fire of yoga. In the fire, when you throw something, everything is burnt, isn't it? The form, the color, everything changes. So if I'm really experiencing that form of yoga, there should be total transformation in my sanskaras. And the proof of having that transformation is that I will never ever get a thought connected with that sanskara even in my dream. That is when I can understand it's totally dissolved. It has totally disappeared. It has totally transformed. As long as there is dreams connected with that, as long as there is subtle thought, so there is a trace of it. So it needs more fire. Intensity is necessary. So that is why, Baba was, many times Baba says, how many hours yoga you need to have during the day, 24 hours. Baba often talks about 8 hours. And of course, in the last few years, Baba has mentioned at least 4 hours. Now, of course, it does not mean that to create that fire, you have to sit and meditate for 8 hours. But even if I can create a chart of remaining within the 4 lines of yoga, I call it as the Maryada of yoga, for 8 hours during the day, I can have wonders in my life. Again, this is also sometimes Dadi Gulsar shared this with us, with double foreigners many years ago, the 4 lines of Maryadas for yoga. If I can remain 8 hours within that 4 lines, I can still create that fiery form. So what she was mentioning was the first line of Maryada was soul consciousness. So remain within that line. Don't go into the other, body consciousness. Even in soul consciousness, there are 4 stages. You can experience subtle soul consciousness, you can experience gross soul consciousness, you can experience bodiless stage, you can experience incorporeal stage. So that is one line. The second line is churning knowledge. That is also an aspect of yoga, even though it is not a powerful stage. That is why we always advise people that use your time for churning when you are doing mundane work. During the day, there are many times you don't have to use your intellect, like you are bathing, you are brushing, you are getting ready. You don't have to use your intellect so much. You are walking up and down for meals. So use those time for churning. That is going to help you to intensify your meditation. So the second thing is churning knowledge, churning Baba's knowledge. The third one is heart-to-heart communication with Baba, conversation, different relationships. Don't think that every time you sit in yoga, you have to go into the seat stage as soon as you sit down. Because sometimes, depending upon how the day was, you may not be able to go into that stage directly. So you need to have conversation with Baba with whatever relationship you would like to experience. So that is also within the boundaries of yoga. And of course, the 4th stage is seed stage, Bindu stage. Now, this is what we call it as the length and breadth and height of yoga. Because we are creating yogic stage, So 8 hours is the length of yoga, and 8 relationship becomes the width of yoga. Then the height of yoga is the elevated thoughts. According to the stage you are experiencing, your thoughts will be elevated. So the more elevated your thoughts, the deeper your yoga. So the depth of yoga cannot come without having length, width, and height. So if I can remain within these 4 lines, soul consciousness, churning, heart-to-heart conversation, and then seed stage, even for 8 hours. So maybe you can try for the next 7 days until Shivratri, at least 8 hours. So you will see, you will accumulate the power of yoga. Because, some people ask this question, why not 9 hours, why not 10 hours, only 8 hours? Of course, if you can afford to do more, that is fine. But minimum number of hours are needed to charge the battery. Just like if your car battery is discharged and you take it to the mechanic and you ask them to charge the battery, they will say, leave the battery with us for that number of hours. But if you are in a hurry, the battery can be only half charged, not full charged. So power of yoga is generated when we are able to have this connection for that number of hours. Because that is the quality, not the quantity. First of all, you can go for the quantity and then increase the quality. But one thing I always suggest people is, when you are in Madhuban, make use of all the meditation sittings. For example, Amrit Vela, we have group meditation. 6:30 to 7, we have group meditation. In the evening, we have group meditation. Make use of that time. Don't lose that time. That is the time we can have collective form to create that fiery form of yoga. I can do it on my own to create that stage, but if all of us have worked on ourselves and then collectively do it, it will have an impact. So that is why what we call it as bhatti. Bhatti means furnace. So once I enter into that furnace, I should remain there. So every time you sit in yoga, make sure that you have an aim. What would you like to experience for this time? Without an aim, and then secondly, having determination in that aim, you cannot have concentration. Do you agree with me? If you don't have an aim and you don't stick to that aim, if you are not determined to stick to that aim, you cannot direct your thoughts in that direction and achieve what you want to achieve. Because otherwise we will be changing our aim all the time, not this, another one. By the time meditation will be over. So that is tapasya. Every time I sit in meditation, I must have that constant determination and an aim so that I can concentrate. So I need to train myself. So that is why I said purity is very important. And another aspect that helps to create the fiery form of yoga is the stage of being, totally detached. Totally detached. Leave the shores. Don't hold on to the shores. Then only you can go up. So there are 4 corners that we hold on to. So if there is detachment on all 4 sides, I begin to move up. So a detachment from the body, detachment from the bodily relations, detachment from the worldly objects, detachment from my sanskaras. It's only when I am totally detached from all these 4, I have left the shore. And then I can move upwards. No, other day Baba was saying in the slogan that you should have light dress, not tight dress, so that you are able to change your dress very fast. It means consciousness. So for that, one practice I always keep in my mind is every morning when you wake up with this awareness, I am an incarnation. I am coming from up above, enter into this body, and I am coming into this world for 2 purposes. to give God's message and to help God in establishing the ancient religion, deity religion, the original religion. So if I have that incarnation consciousness, I will not have attachment with anyone. I will not create any karmic account with anyone. No, that is why they say the incarnated souls don't have any karmic account. They come, they do the task, and they go. So this practice is very important so that I don't create any karmic accounts more and I don't get attached anywhere. So I can be in the body and I move away. So this practice will help me to be free from all four corners. Tapasya is like, seated on an elevated seat, lotus seat in a way. So what it means to sit on an elevated lotus seat, it means to sit on a seat of detachment. That means detachment means love for one. And of course love for all. There is no special love for one or two souls. So in that way, I don't entangle anyone in me and no one will get entangled in myself. So I become free. So that is why I am able to experience liberation in life while I am here. That is sadhana. No, sadhana is to experience mukti and jivan mukti while I am here in this body. Because when we go into golden age, we don't know whether we are in jivan mukti or not. When we go to the soul world, also we won't be aware. So this is why, as Baba said today, when anyone looks at us, they should not look at us as an image of renunciation, but we should become an image of renunciation. Complete renunciate. Sometimes people say, oh, I feel so sorry for you. I appreciate what you do, but I feel sorry because you have to renounce so much. But in fact, we say BK life is not a life of renunciation. Is it? It's a life of fortune. But why is that the fortune is not seen on our face? Why they should see renunciation? Because there is something lacking in our tapasya. So that means we are more thinking about what we have left behind, not so much of what we have attained. So remember how Baba saw us when he came on the other day? He saw us as the image of fortune. So let us keep that image of fortune in our mind and keep it immersed so that others get inspiration from our image. That is the image of a tapasvi. Tapasya is not possible without renunciation, but the reward of tapasya is fortune. So the fortune should be immersed and renunciation should be merged. Because the amount of fortune we get is more than what we have renounced. So that should be merged, but the fortune should be emerged. So in that way, we will be able to move quickly from tapasya to sadhana and to the final stage. So what we can do, for the next half an hour or so, practically experiment. Because as I said, we are yogis, but what Baba wants us to become is to become experimenting yogis. That means to experience the attainment of yoga practically. So let us, have one aim together as a group for the next half an hour. And we ignite that determined thought in our heart that we are world benefactor souls. And Baba is the benefactor. So we visualize ourselves as benefactors together with Baba, the Son of Knowledge, and emerge so much of love, compassion for the souls of the world, and create the feelings in our heart that whatever I have attained from Baba, let them receive all these attainments wherever they are. So let us plug in our connection with the satellite. That's all I need to do. I don't need to churn knowledge now. Create these feelings and let go of the consciousness of the body, bodily relations, everything, and be with Baba. And through Baba, let this rays of light, might, peace, power go out into the world. So let us create that kind of fire together as a gathering, according to Baba's instruction this morning, so that we are able to maintain the warmth of that fire for the next 24 hours. Because when a fire is ignited, it's not at that time the heat remains, but the warmth remains with me, the sakash, for a long period of time. You know, we have asked Dadi Gulzar many times, after Baba leaves, how she feels. Before Baba comes, she prepares. We asked her the other day what preparation she makes. So she said, after all, such a huge power is going to come. So she is more introvert and she creates a very powerful stage of yoga. And then when Baba leaves, he leaves his power, you know, the sakash in her body, and she feels so light and so illuminated for a long, long period of time. She doesn't feel that she was sitting there or anything. So if Dadi can feel that kind of power and light and might when Baba is using her body, so let us also experience being with Baba, plugging our connection with the satellite and drawing that power, and with Baba sending out into the world. But first of all, I need to lift myself from all four corners and become so light that I let go of this body, enter into the body of light, go beyond that body of light and just become a ball of light. So let us experiment and let this fire, this rays of light and might from this mountain spread out into the world, even to the elements of matter. Om Shanti. Let us not move around. If possible, let us all remain seated. So that is also a cooperation is needed, you know, when we have that kind of